everybody, and welcome to the last hour of pre-season testing number 1 from the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya in Spain. It's day 3 of the final test, and welcome to a special podcast for the last hour. I'm Joshua Birch. Alongside me in the commentary box is my co-commentator and sibling, even though very annoying, Megan Birch. Good afternoon to you, Megan. Welcome to testing.
I'm not annoying.
You are ever so slightly. You have to admit.
You can talk.
Well, yes, I can. And that's what I've been doing for the past... 3 days, yeah. The past 3 days in testing. Yes, I'll just turn your mic up a little bit for you. But we have got coverage left, right and centre as we have got the pictures in front of us. So this is all going to be a podcast slash the commentary for the last hour of testing. At Sky Race Control as well as per usual. I don't know why I said Sky Race Control. That's them because we call it Race Control as well.
Yeah.
It's our father, it's Ian Birch. Hello, Dad. I know you're not going to be talking much during the next 57 minutes. But good afternoon to you too, if you can hear us.
Hello.
Very poor signal quality there, so I do apologise for that. But good afternoon to you, Dad. There we go. I think I can hear you, but there's some interference on the line. How have you been finding testing so far?
How can you describe it? It's been different to the normal testing.
Yes.
More red flags today, less in the 2 days.
More red flags left, right and centre. Now, thank you for that, Dad. We'll be back with you later on in the programme. Me and Megan have got a whole list. If Megan moves her iPad off, I've got a whole list of stories that we need to talk through over the next few minutes, Megan. More specifically, let's start with what we learned back in testing from the car launches as well. Formula One, back with new cars and new looks and a lot of intrigue, as this is the first and final year that we're going to get, because for once, Megan, the technical regulations have stayed the same, so we've got the field a lot closer together, and everyone's thinking, great, Red Bull, Ferrari, they're going to be right up there battling with Mercedes. But Mercedes have sprung a little surprise on us with the DAS system, the driver aid system. So what do you think about that? Because it moves the steering wheel forward to tilt the camber of the front wheels to help them down the straight. So we've got Dad's thoughts now. We'll have him in a few moments. But Megan, what's your thoughts on that? Is it a revolutionary?
I think it could be good if the rest of the field had it, though just Mercedes having it is unfair advantage.
Nice you brought that up, because it was announced yesterday that it's actually a part that you can buy for Mercedes. It's an off-the-shelf part. And the only car, Dad, that fits the Mercedes seems to be in pink at the moment, and seems to be called the Pink Mercedes. It's Racing Point, who have copied and pasted last year's cars, and whose DAS system could be used brilliantly. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the DAS system could be adapted for any of the cars. These are the best engineers in the world, at designing cars. The thing about the DAS system is that it has a few disadvantages. Blistering of the tyres because of the road surface being so high. If the road surface is really hard, right, and abrasive, like certain tracks like Singapore and that, it can be a disadvantage there. The good thing about this is it can only be used when the driver wants to. Yeah,
it's driver operated, not mechanically operated, which is all the fuss that was brought around.
It's a good idea, and we think it's to do with the fact that the struts at the back, the suspension struts at the back, have been lowered at the bottom, right? And that causes unevenness in the car, and that just puts more wheel surface on the road to improve grip, right? All the cars have a problem with grip.
Yep, every single car on the track, and we've seen the Haas as well having an especial problem with the grip over the past 3 days. Yeah,
all at the same turning.
Yes, yeah. all at the same part of the track, all at turn 7, 8, 9, the uphill section of the track that gets the most sunlight, so the track's hotter, and then it's colder when we leave it. Go on,
Turn 9 is notorious.
Yeah.
It's taken so many people over the years, right? That's why there's such a big bow there to actually catch the cars.
So, last year when I was at pre-season testing, several cars were going into that part of the track, and
The runoff area.
yeah, and bringing out so many red flags, red flag after red flag after red flag, all of that part of the track. It's all
You've only got to
go on.
You've only got to hit the first bit wrong, and by the third bit, you're done for.
Exactly. That's it. Oh, don't know what happened there. Can you still hear us, Dad?
I can still hear you, both of you.
Not sure. Sorry. Yeah.
What the
Maggie.
hell just happened?
Not too sure.
Hello?
Yes, you too.
Nothing went wrong this end.
We had a massive click our side, but that's
It was like
technical.
someone ruffling paper.
Yeah, that's a technical problem. But anyway, moving on, we have got cars back out on the track after a brief red flag period, which saw Danny Ricciardo stop on the track and cause the initial red flag. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the very beginning of day number 1 of pre-season testing and see what happened in the morning and afternoon session and give you the results as well. Day 1 of the 2020 Formula 1 pre-season testing got underway at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. It was a bright 9 a.m. when the green light went on and testing officially began. George Russell was the first car out of the pit lane, winning the battle against the Racing Points to get out onto the track first. Alfa Romeo and Haas however, launched their cars officially earlier on in the morning, but all honours went to Valtteri Bottas at the end of the first 4 hours. He clocked a 1:17.313, completing 78 laps, being the fastest driver of all on the opening morning. Moving forward as well, Racing Point, Verstappen as well, they were completing some good laps. Sergio Perez completed 58 laps, but a staggering 91 laps completed for Max Verstappen in the morning session. Absolutely unbelievable. As well, George Russell improved late on in the session as well. He finished in 6th place for Williams. They're having a better pre-season than they did this time last year, not even turning a wheel until the 3rd day of testing. This year, there's only 3 days, and they've got a car ready on time. In fact, they've brought 2, an old car as well for a backup. Alfa Romeo reserve driver of Robert Kubica took part in the morning session as well, getting out on the track, shaking down the car for Antonio Giovinazzi in the afternoon, and Kimi Raikkonen taking over the car tomorrow morning. But the top 10 that were out on the track first were Bottas, Perez, Verstappen, Sainz, Ocon, Russell, Leclerc, Kubica, Magnussen and Kvyat. But we're just going to quickly run you through the amount of laps. Bottas did 78 laps in the morning, Sergio Perez 58, Max Verstappen 91, Carlos Sainz on 64, Esteban Ocon 59, George Russell a staggering 73, more under their belt at pre-season testing than Williams managed last year. Unbelievable for them. Charles Leclerc completed 64 laps. Charles Leclerc replacing an ill Sebastian Vettel. He's got a flu-like symptoms and was sent back to bed, and hopefully he'll be in the car tomorrow. Charles Leclerc taking all of the 8 hours on day 1. They were supposed to share the car tomorrow, and it's supposed to be Vettel today, so hopefully it should be Leclerc on day 1. Day 2 should all be Sebastian Vettel's. Day 3 should be a split between the two. Charles Leclerc, as I said, completed 64 laps in the morning. 57 laps for Robert Kubica in his morning session before he handed the car over in the afternoon. Kevin Magnussen, on his first stint of the day, did 52 laps and 53 laps for the Alfa Tauri of Danny Kvyat as well. He too is in the car all day. Right, let's take a look at the times from the morning session. So Valtteri Bottas tops the morning session on day 1 of pre-season testing for 2020, a 1:17.313. Sergio Perez is second, a 1:17.375. Max Verstappen is third, a 1:17.787. Carlos Sainz fourth, a 1:18.001. Esteban Ocon fifth on his return, a 1:18.004. George Russell is sixth, a 1:18.168. Charles Leclerc seventh, a 1:18.289. Robert Kubica is 8th on 118.386. Kevin Magnussen 9th on 118.466. And Danny Kvyat rounding out the top 10 on a 118.484. On to the afternoon session and another 4 hours on the first day of pre-season testing. And this time in the afternoon, Valtteri Bottas handed over the car to his Mercedes teammate of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton completing 94 laps in the afternoon, a staggering amount, and he also set the fastest time of the day on a 1:16.976. Bottas remained in second place. Of course, we already know how many laps he did, so did Sergio Perez. He ranked up to 58 in the end. But of course, Verstappen ended up doing 168 laps. Only second as well, Carlos Sainz ended up doing 161. An outstanding effort by them two today as well. Moving further down, well, Danny Kvyat ended up 5th fastest. He did 115 laps. Danny Ricciardo took over the car in the afternoon from Esteban Ocon. He did 54. George Russell ended up at 73 laps, but he gave over the car in the afternoon to Nicholas Latifi. He gave up 63. Charles Leclerc ended up doing 131 laps. 104 laps for Kevin Magnussen, and Antonio Giovinazzi got in 78 laps in the end, compared to his teammate Robert Kubica on 59 as well. Interesting day of pre-season testing, but it's not over just yet. There were a few spins in that session as well. Max Verstappen, as your dad said earlier on, just caught the gravel on one stage. The car flicked him round, but then a few minutes later did exactly the same thing. The car just almost jettining itself towards turn 13 on the MotoGP layout, and a return to the garage was needed for them to assess the damage. But it was a clean first day of pre-season testing, if you can believe it or not. Not a single red flag was thrown over the 8 hours. An outstanding achievement for Formula One. Let's hope that continues into day 2 and day 3 of this test. Right, let's take a look at the full results and the afternoon session classification after day number 1. So Lewis Hamilton tops the end of day 1 of pre-season testing, a 1:16.976. Bottas' time for the morning stands, a 1:17.313. Sergio Perez third, a 1:17.375. Max Verstappen 4th, a 1:17.516. Danny Kvyat 5th, a 1:17.698. Then we get Carlos Sainz in 6th, a 1:17.842. Danny Ricciardo 7th, a 1:17.873. Esteban Ocon 8th, a 1:18.004. George Russell in 9th on a 1:18.168. And Lance Stroll rounding out the top 10, a 1:18.282. Charles Leclerc 11th, a 1:18.289. Nicholas Latifi, a 1:18.382 in 12th. Robert Kubica 13th, a 1:18.386. Kevin Magnussen 14th, a 1:18.466. And Antonio Giovinazzi in 15th, a 1:20.069. Day 1 and day 2 were certainly exciting, and I think we fixed Dad's problem with the microphone. So, can you hear us, Dad?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, finally.
Clearly as we've ever heard you, and I think we now know what was causing the issue last year with commentary. So, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, you lot deliberately blocked me out.
Yes, sorry about that. Well, we've given you an actual mic now, so hopefully that'll help you out a bit more. So, what we were talking about with the Racing Point and the factory standard of the DAS system, that they could easily just take it for themselves.
Well, obviously, because the pink Mercedes is a pink Mercedes.
Yeah.
And it's identical to last year's car. It's got to be easy to adapt that system into it.
Absolutely so, yeah. And the suspension of the Racing Point, identical, because they've literally just taken tracing paper, as you said in our show a few days ago. Yeah.
They took all the dimensions and just recreated it.
Yeah. Exactly what they've done. Megan,
Mercedes 2.9.
Within the rules.
I was about to ask you that. Yes, it's within the rules and everything. But now here's the interesting point that I'm glad you got onto, was we've got 48 minutes to go with the session, so plenty of time to talk about everything with. The rules for 2021 have now banned the DAS system. And everyone in the media centre today has been going, oh, that's because the stewards have frantically gone around and just said, right, that's it, it's banned for next year. No, it's not the reason. The actual reason is the fact that it was already banned for next year. because it was said so in the regulations. Mercedes have found a loophole for this year only. I think that's the interesting part.
So they can't use this system next year?
No. The DAS system is a 2020 only concept. It's the new F-duct, really, that we only saw for a year and then got replaced sort of with DRS. But yes, this dual axle system, driver axle system, whatever it's called, is only for one single season. And that's
at the moment.
News. At the moment, yeah, they can easily change their mind about that. But going back to Racing Point, news broke over the winter about how they are going to become Aston Martin for 2021. As Lawrence Stroll brought into the British car firm, and his Formula One team will now be rebranded ahead of the new regulation changes. Following weeks of speculation that Lawrence Stroll was posed to buy into the Aston Martin brand, it was a deal that would be for £182 million for an initial 16.7% of stake in Aston Martin. So he's bought part of Aston Martin and they've bought his racing team as well. And they are going to take over the entry for Formula One.
£182 million pounds. It's like you giving away a fiver to Lawrence Stroll.
Yeah. He is absolutely.
Lawrence Stroll has so much money.
I'd really like to part with a fiver.
Yes, you like the fiver bit.
Well, we all know Megan doesn't want to part with anything.
No, hoarder, especially when it comes to money. Mm-hmm. Yes, go on, Dad, continue. Oh.
Well, we can't all have a box of chocolate bars in our bedroom.
Which Megan actually does.
I do.
It's not just Ferrero Rocher, it's every brand from everywhere, any time as well. As I told you this will be part of the commentary as well. Murray Walker always says, commentate on the pictures you see. If I look up from the notes and up at the commentary monitor, we can see that they've managed to get that Renault back to the garage after Danny Ricciardo had a suspected engine failure and it stopped on the track. He seems to be getting back in, Dad.
Yeah, because I feel that it was one of a sensor or an electrical problem. Because otherwise, if it was mechanical, they've had that hood off at the back, and they would be doing something, and they haven't. All they've done is plug something in and reset something. And now they look like they're ready for going again.
Well, Laura Winter's down there as well as Ted Kravitz. I think they're patrolling the pit lane as well. Danny Ricciardo's getting back in the car as the Williams looks in front of us now of Nicholas Latifi making his Formula One debut. Latifi back in the car after stopping this morning before the lunch break and causing the second red flag of the day. Sebastian Vettel calls the first one. But just getting back to our programme now, so on board with Latifi. He's done the 119.004. Go on.
Don't you think the Williams this year looks quite like the Alfa Romeo from last year?
Yeah, that's my next topic, actually. Yeah, it was. So, it does look very much alike, doesn't it? Williams have definitely improved their car compared to last year. Yeah, they had to. Absolutely had to compared to last year.
Because Claire's pram for her baby actually beat them on a straight line. Yeah,
I've heard that. Well, we'll get Claire texting into the programme telling us not to do that because she wasn't too happy with David Croft on day one of testing when he compared their cards looking like the Colgate toothpaste. But I don't worry. Crofty went downstairs. He had a ring of confidence as well.
Well, I think that
there's the first pun of the year.
I think that shows Crofty's age because Colgate toothpaste is what I've got in our bathroom.
Yeah,
and it's white, and Megan will tell you it's mainly aqua green.
Yeah. Do you, Megan? Yeah, agreed. She's Megan nodding.
It hasn't been white, red, and blue for years.
No, it hasn't. But I'll tell you what's pink. Lance Stroll, that's just in front of us, and that's giving us the perfect example.
God, you said that.
Yeah.
So they do have one with blue in the toothpaste that's meant to whiten your teeth faster. But I don't use that one.
Tell you what,
I'm the only one in the house that I think, apart from Dad, that actually uses the other one.
You can tell it's testing, can't you? Because we're just talking anything to try and fill the time. But we have.
What about if you're looking at what you're talking about on the picture now?
Yeah, Lance Stroll's in front of us.
Last year they had these little jet engines either side of the air intake at the top. on the Racing Point. And we wondered, like a lot of people, what it was. And Ted managed to find out that they're infrared cameras that they can plug in at the side so that they can actually look at the wheels and see where the hot and cold on each corner.
Yeah, and you can tell.
Which gives them a tremendous lot of information, right? Many people have sensors in the tyres rims themselves, but this is, and other people have a system where they stick a camera on the side.
This morning had one.
These are high definition pods.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm surprised that none of the others haven't developed the same system, because these high definition pods certainly. Last year they experimented in. Gave us pictures from them, and they certainly do tell you the different colour spectrums of the heat across the width of that tyre.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Mercedes were struggling with, and that gas system helps them out, because you're keeping the middle of the tyre warm, so that when you turn in now, like one but with Lance Stroll, turning into 1 and 2, it's a lot easier.
I think it was Christian Horner who said about the fact that, that's all well and good, but you could cause blistering on the more aggressive tracks.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, right? Because of the system that they operate, right? Because they use tracks that have to be used for other things.
Yeah.
Right? There is not a lot of tracks that are the same type of tarmac.
No.
I mean, you can't. In the case of Monaco, it's impossible.
Yeah, can't use
Singapore the same, right? They have a more of a aggressive wear on the tyres at Singapore than they do anywhere else.
I said this about the Halo, but I wouldn't want to be moving the steering wheel out of position when you're going up Eau Rouge at Spa. I wouldn't want to be doing that. What would you two think?
No, but you wouldn't do it, would you? You wouldn't do it.
No sane person.
No one would.
Yeah.
Well said, Megan.
No sane person would. Yeah, she's right there.
No sane person would, because at the end of the day, you can only do it where it's safe to do so.
Yeah. And I don't think it's not safe. And
is an advantage.
I've seen them only doing it on the start-finish straight, as just quickly, Lance Stroll just went across the line. He has gone fourth fastest today, and the time, I believe, last across the board was a 1:23.316. His fastest time is a 1:17.338. As we look at McLaren.
If you think last year they had Mercedes had the best car, but not in a straight line. It could be beaten in a straight line by both the Ferrari and the Red Bull.
Yeah, and now this year,
the McLaren was getting close to it last year.
Well,
on the straight.
Right?
Where the Mercedes is best is on the corners.
And because we already saw the drag race to the line where Toro Rosso just got ahead of Hamilton. Gasly keeping out Hamilton in Brazil. So we know that Mercedes isn't quick in a straight line, it's quick in the corners. This gas system helps them out. They are changing the brake discs on the McLaren for Lando Norris.
If only they could keep the grip on the corners.
If anything, keep the grip on the corners. Yeah, that's the buzz, as Megan says. It's going to be a bit of a situation, isn't it? Constantly dragging the steering wheel.
This is the strange thing, because a lot of them use pads on the rear, and they've got pads on the front. Have you noticed? It's not a cylinder disc.
No, it is pads, isn't it? Usually with the brake pads, it's as you say, the cylinders, but these aren't. These really are small little pads. Look at that. That's a perfect image. I wish you could see it on the podcast, but you can't describe it. So like
caliper.
It's a sort of a half moon sort of approach, and then, there's a big fat brake.
That's the brake disc. You've got the caliper, you've got the brake disc is different from disc brakes.
Yeah.
Right.
We were on about the calipers, not the discs. Sorry, we have been on there nearly 8 hours.
We were on about the calipers.
Yeah.
We're on about the calipers and the brake pads that fit inside the calipers.
Yeah.
Right. Where quite a few of them use complete discs
Yeah.
that come as a one unit. Whereas, and then you can adjust them on the sides.
Yeah, McLaren are doing quite the opposite.
Yeah, because obviously it's quicker to have to take the calipers off like McLaren are.
Yeah.
Right, and refit pads. They've got to be just pushing things. And remember, these things will wear out in testing a lot more than they would on a race.
And I think that's the issue, because with the testing today, they've done. If I look at the lap counter, if I can, but fortunately it's not working for me right now. Well, here we go.
You've got virtually a race and a bit in the morning.
Yeah.
And when by the time it comes to third day afternoon, right, it's a race. It's a proper race and a bit.
110 laps total.
Yeah, so you're talking of things that are friction wearing out.
Yeah, which is pretty
and
much
these things
everything.
are magnificent because the reason there is a hub is that the rear tires you change that into kinetic energy.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yes.
And like the old CARES system.
Yeah.
They've all got different things in different ways, but a lot of them have the units. They're all basically the same inside the unit, but they have the unit all in one so that they can just slip it on and slip it off for ease.
Yeah.
Especially if someone hits a barrier and you need to replace it. It's not a part that you needs to be...
Magnussen,
Grosjean hasn't got an FIA problem with it if you change it, right? And you want to be able to change. Someone just nudges the barrier, say Montreal.
Yeah, which is pretty easy to do at Montreal.
Right, at Champions Wall, right? If you nudge the barrier, right, you break suspension. You can break brakes because of the fact that they come to a sudden stop and they crack and things like that. So, really, these things have to be like units that you bolt on and bolt off.
And that's
whereas that McLaren, they seem to have gone into the units.
Yeah.
Looking at it again, everything's there from the unit, but they've gone into it and replaced each individual blade of the braking system.
Yeah.
Right. After all, if it was your car on the rear brakes, it would also have a static one on a cable that is your handbrake.
And that's
right.
And that's the system they've been developing over the past few years.
You have to slow these cars down from 200 odd miles an hour to a 60 mile an hour corner in an instant, right?
Yeah. Now's a perfect example because Albon's doing 182, 183. Now he's going to slam the brakes full on, drop all the way down to fourth gear and turn in for the corner in 50 metres for turn one.
And all the drivers say that when you get into a Formula One car and you press the brake, it doesn't seem to move.
Doesn't, does it? No. You're always a bit worried.
It only seems to move when you slam on it at high speed as coming into a corner.
Yeah.
It's really a strange thing. The amount of exercise these lads have to do on their necks and their legs.
Unbelievable, the amount now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be even more next year with the regulation change, which heats up all of the cars like crazy. So it's really going to be a tricky one, 2021. And
can you imagine Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, Abu Dhabi is going to be
all the hot races.
Yeah.
Well, have so many DNFs.
Singapore's at the moment is the one with the biggest differential between them all. Just quickly, coming to you, Megan, you've been dipping in and out of testing. This is the first time we've been in the commentary box for the end of for the podcast bit, and now here's the thing: I've been on air all the time, 8 hours, just in case anything happens during the actual test that we need to use in one of the programs. Dad's joined me over the past few days, and we're both all now together, all three of us, for the last hour of day 3. But you have been watching some of it. You do know the things we've been talking to you about. What has your impression been so far of testing these 2020 cars? Is there anything that's jumped out at you? Well, obviously, the Mercedes gas system, because I know you're going to say that.
Yeah, I was going to mention, I actually don't really think it's a mainly good idea for Mercedes gas system.
No, we talked about that, didn't we,
It
Dad?
could cause problems later on.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday in last night's show. It's a bit where do you draw the line with that, because if the steering wheel breaks in an accident, it could ricochet towards the driver at even more speed compared to the safety.
Then the halo will mean nothing.
Precisely. Yeah, go on.
Having thought about that, he has to press the button to do that. If there's a crash at that time, right, they might not have to take their hand off the wheel because it might dissipate some of the impact.
That's a good idea. I've never thought of that one, because usually when they hit, they do have to take their hands off the wheel, don't they? But is this now that the wheel basically goes
Personally, I always
720?
would.
Yeah. The wheel...
Because it spins the wheel to the left,
Yeah.
spins the wheel to the right. It'd only be okay in a direct impact.
Yeah, which is usually the
To improve that.
Yeah, it's usually the head-on impacts where the wheel jolts the most because the suspension breaks off. Then a sideways impact, isn't it? But a lot of aero paint on the front of the Alfa Romeo there. Well, yeah, we've got to say Alfa Romeo because there's now Alfa Touray as well. So this is how you're going to define it. It's Alfa Romeo Alfa Touray. So it's Alfa Romeo Alfa Touray. So just listen for the two differences and then you'll know. But we'll just say the name anyway. So it's the Alfa Romeo, and Antonio Giovinazzi is apparently how you pronounce the name. Giovinazzi. We've been saying...
I think he was taking the mickey.
I hope so.
It's Giovinazzi.
Yeah, you've got to say it.
And if we're going to do name checks, right,
Yes.
We're going to do a name check here of an up-and-coming young driver, Charlotte Fox.
Yes.
Now, Charlotte is from Greatcoats, which is the next village to us, and she's going to be competing alongside Jack Fieldneve.
Oh, wow.
Right, in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, right?
Wow. Yeah. Brilliant news.
For a girl of her age, is an opportunity she can't miss. And
How old is she?
She's 16.
2 years.
Oh.
2 years older than you, Megan.
Nearly 1 year, though.
Did
Nearly
she go
1
to
year,
your
yeah.
school, Megan?
Do you know her?
No.
Oh, that's a shame. We could have got her on the
Charlotte
podcast.
Fox.
I don't know. I know some people with the last name Fox.
I think Megan's going to now have to go and have a little bit of investigation. If that's so, then we'll. That could be something to get her on the podcast. And
Her dad's
I'm not going to ask a random person I don't even know.
Her dad's a motorsport fan, and she was just about...
Sorry, Danny Ricciardo has spun at turn 14-15, and he looked like he did what we've seen all week, Dad. He's just lost the rear of the car coming into the turn. He's 360'd it back on, jumped onto the MotoGP layout, but that seems to be a very simple spin for Danny Rick. And we'll go back now to what you were on about with Charlotte Fox. But yes.
Well, no, it's a great opportunity for
it really
one of our young drivers. Traditionally, we've produced motorcycle champions.
From our area, yeah.
From our area.
North East Lincolnshire, yeah.
Yeah, a lot, from Freddie Thrift to Marshall to, a dozen top riders from this area. It's because Honda have a factory in Louth.
Yeah, it all sort of goes there with the bikes, isn't it? And Cadwell's just
we've got Cadwell. And we must give a mention to Cadwell, which you did a thing for
I did
2 years ago.
It's on the YouTube channel. It's the very first video on this YouTube channel, so you can scroll back and have a look. I think it was 2017 we did it, so it's the very first one, all the way back there. No, it was 17. Yeah, go on.
But who was there earlier on
Oh.
I think it was October time.
Yes, yeah, I think I know he was going to be there. Is it this week or next week? It's
this week. Top Gear are there.
Top Gear. Paddy McGuinness, Freddie Flintoff,
Paddy McGuinness and that.
Chris Harris, and the Stick was even there, and Sabine Schmitz, the Nürburgring expert, was also there.
All at Cadwell. It was. I think it was wasn't it before the motor? I think it could have been back in August.
I think it was in August. Yeah, just before.
I think they filmed it just before when they were setting up for the British Superbikes.
Yeah. Well, all I do know is what happened there is the fact that Freddie Flintoff crashes a Porsche with the Stig in it. So that's all I know. Keeping up his reputation that Flintoff always crashes the cars he's in, which I always find hilarious.
It's a bit like thingy.
Hammond.
Yeah, Hammond.
Yeah, but he doesn't do it deliberately. He literally just
Neither did
crashes.
Hammond.
Neither did Hammond. Good point. Go on.
Oh, in Formula One, Hartley.
Yes. Thank you for bringing it up.
We almost made it a year without him coming up.
I love how you say that, but Brendan Hartley's in Formula
That's
E.
because Megan doesn't do Formula E.
Yeah, Brendan is in Formula E, and he's not having a good time of it. Although,
well, I ain't commentating on it.
The race was good in Mexico for Brendan Hartley, so he's doing.
What did he say in your Christmas card from Brendan? Hope you watch someone else this year.
That's a good point. Yeah, she denied to sponsor a driver last year, but it was always coincidence with Brendan Hartley just popped up. Which driver on this grid?
He was her favourite driver.
Yeah. Which one on the grid are you going to curse? She's picked Carlos Sainz and Romain Grosjean. She's dropped it down
Grosjean.
to. It's Grosjean. I don't think Grosjean needs you to bad luck, and just watch any first lap with Romain Grosjean. I'm sure there'll be something.
I will say the thing is that with Roman, you get 100% from start to finish.
Always. But that's the problem. It's 100% at the start.
That's the problem. He doesn't know when to reduce his input.
At the start, it's 100% effort, and then it's 100% failure.
Oh, not all the time. Mostly, I'm looking forward to seeing the Drive to Survive Series 2 when I'm not in the box.
I feel that the Haas, even in this testing, has had a real. Bunter said that they've solved it, but it looked like definitely on the first day and a bit of the second day, it just looked like when they went round certain corners, they had no rear grip.
Absolutely, and we saw that because Grosjean had a spin, didn't he, down at turn 4 and 5?
I hope I don't curse Grosjean.
Isn't Grosjean the only one that's broken some bodywork?
I actually like Grosjean as well, so I hope I don't.
Also, talking about Haas, you may notice that Kevin Magnussen, who was in the car today, is down in 16th place. That's because his car stopped out on track, and he's only completed 4 laps.
Well, I wasn't in the box then.
No, but he was in this session. But no, Grosjean's 11th at the moment, but you're right. The car ranked strongly on day 1, and it hasn't been on day 2 and day 3 reliable. So their second test is going to be a lot more about getting the race distances in, as we see Lando Norris taking over the McLaren from Carlos Sainz in the afternoon session. Lando just going around now, 25 minutes left. The track is starting to cool. The sun's going down. There's a beautiful... This turn 4, when I was there last year, beautiful part of the track if you want a photograph.
To make Claire,
go on.
To make Claire feel better, that we're going to praise her now.
Yes.
I feel this car won't be bottom; it will be in the midfield.
I think so. I think they've got a really strong package this year.
I don't think anybody is 5 seconds off.
No, everyone's pretty consistent. Yeah.
All of this, I reckon there'll be a 2-second gap between top and bottom.
So everyone has been saying on Twitter throughout all this week, who do you think the top teams are? But I've got a difficult question for you. Who do you think the bottom teams are? I've got contenders. I've got a contender.
Williams.
You're saying Williams still? Megan's saying Williams. Dad, who do you think is the bottom team coming away from this first test?
The ones that haven't impressed me are Renault.
Yep.
And our AlphaTauri have done okay.
They've done all right.
They haven't done anything that Toro Rosso wouldn't have done.
Yep.
And having said that, the bottom level has moved up into the midfield, then you've got to look at the Alfa Romeo and the AlphaTauri as being the bottom ones.
So the Alphas, who are usually the first, are now right at the back.
Look where Williams is.
Latifi's 15th.
Yeah.
But
I think the Williams.
But
I think the Williams will be.
Yeah.
I think the Williams will be above.
It better just be a test malfunction. We better get it.
Yesterday, George Russell was 7th.
Okay.
And 5th.
Still.
The previous day. So
And as we said yesterday, right, Racing Point are going to be up with.
They're going to be up with
Red Bull.
Yeah, they're going to be up there battling for podiums. They've got a really strong car. Perez said yesterday to Will Buxton,
Well, of course
the car's good. Yeah,
of course it is, because it's a pink Mercedes.
exactly. Yeah.
Strawberry yogurt car.
Right, we're just coming up on 3 minutes to go to 20 minutes. So what we're going to do now is take a look at the report from day 2 with the morning session and the times. So in the morning session, as Formula One returned for day 2 of pre-season testing at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, it was a surprise to all as Racing Point topped the timesheets and Sergio Perez with a 1:17.347. He completed 48 laps in the morning run. Daniel Ricciardo second and Alexander Albon in third place as well, setting up quite nicely. Pierre Gasly in fourth place had a very early spin down at turn 9, something that was very reminiscent to what happened 12 months ago in the second test, but this time didn't end up with him being in the wall, and I wasn't standing there, so that was a bit more lucky. Going forward as well, Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton focused on long runs this morning as well, ending up a second off the pace, P7, 106 laps he clocked up. But everybody's eyes were on the fact that the front of the Mercedes seemed now to move with a DAS system, a DAS system they are calling it, where by pulling the front wheel, the steering wheel forward and backwards, it turns the camber, the front wings, back in towards each other, giving himself better drag. We explained it a bit earlier on in the programme. Pierre Gasly, as I said, spun, but he was boycotted as well as Williams were on a very, very fast run, and them two almost coming together as well. Ferrari decided to play testing a bit more like a piano as well, because it was one key for testing, then it was another, then it was another. They kept changing strategies all morning with Charles Leclerc once again in the car, meaning he'd done 3 sessions in a row. Now it's time for Sebastian Vettel to take some. He's back after feeling ill over the past few days. He's in the car this afternoon and hopefully all day tomorrow, otherwise he's going to be behind on the testing. But in the morning session, it was Lewis Hamilton with the most laps at 106, but Sergio Perez topping the timesheets. Let's take a look at the full results after the morning session. So Sergio Perez tops the first part of day 2 of pre-season testing on 1:17.347, completing 48 laps. Daniel Ricciardo is second for Renault on 1:17.749, 4/10 off the pace but completing 41 laps. Alexander Albon is third for Red Bull Racing on 1:18.155, 8/10 off but completing 59 racing laps. Pierre Gasly for AlphaTauri is in 4th place on a 1:18.165, again 8/10 off but completing 74 laps. George Russell 5th for Williams on 1:18.266, 9/10 off but 70 laps under the belt. Charles Leclerc 6th on his morning before Sebastian Vettel takes over in the afternoon for Ferrari on 1:18.335, nearly 9/10 off but 49 laps overall. Lewis Hamilton, the biggest one of the morning so far, on 106 laps. He was only 7th fastest, and of course all the controversy around that car put him on a 1:18.387, 1.040 off the pace. Romain Grosjean in 8th place for Haas on 1:18.496, 1.149 off the pace, but doing 87 laps. Kimi Raikkonen 9th for Alfa Romeo, 1:18.508, 1.161 off the gap, but 64 laps, and Lando Norris rounding out the top 10 on a 1:18.537, completing 48 laps. In the afternoon session of day 2 of pre-season testing, it was Kimi Raikkonen who topped the timesheets for Alfa Romeo. However, he caused the first red flag of the year after 15 hours and 45 minutes, and with 15 minutes remaining in the last part of day 2, the red flags came out as a issue with the anti-stall, and we understand it's a spark plug issue in the engine as well, and the gearbox seizing up that caused the Alfa Romeo to stop out on track at turn 9. That brought out the red flag. The session did get restarted, but still it wasn't enough. Raikkonen was top of the session at 1:17.091. He completed 134 laps. Sergio Perez remained in second place. He did 145 laps in the end. Alexander Albon was back out on the track, but it was Pierre Gasly and Lando Norris who had a near coming together down at the chicane of 14 and 15, and them two just sort of tripping over each other as Lando came into the pit lane. It was definite contact for Romain Grosjean, however. He made contact at turn 5 barrier, losing the rear of the cars, as Dan said earlier on in the programme, just snapping with oversteer and hitting the wall. But it was fairly uneventful once again, but we finally got our first red flag of 2020. Right, that's all from the afternoon. Let's take a look at the full results from day 2. So Kimi Raikkonen tops the afternoon session on day 2 at 1:17.091, completing 134 laps but stopping out on track, causing the first red flag of 2020. Sergio Perez was second at 1:17.347, completing 145 laps in the end. Daniel Ricciardo completing 41 laps in third place for Renault, 1:17.749. He was 6/10 off of the pace. Alexander Albon fourth for Red Bull at 1:17.912. He completed 134 laps in the end. Pierre Gasly fifth for Alpha Tauri. He completed 147 laps in the end. Sebastian Vettel got his first laps under the bank, 73 at the end of the 4-hour session, and his first of 2020. He was 6th at 1:18.154. George Russell 7th, 116 laps at 1:18.266, his best time. Charles Leclerc for the morning's time still stood. So did Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris. He remained in 10th but improved for 1:18.474. Completing 137 laps. Romain Grosjean 158 laps in the end on 1:18.496 and 11. Esteban Ocon 12th on a 1:18.557, 52 laps into the bout. And Valtteri Bottas' time for the morning still standing, putting him last overall on 1:19.307, 2.216 seconds off the pace, and 77 laps completed in the afternoon. 16 minutes and 40 seconds remain then. That's what happened on day 2. Day 3 has been much of the same. Lewis Hamilton has just completed a lap. He did a 1. I'm building tension here, but I'm not because I'm trying to get to the board. He did a... If I have a look... It's not telling me. The computer's decided not to tell me. Isn't that
Turning
nice?
against you. It likes me more.
1:21.686 is the time Lewis Hamilton just did. His best lap is a... Not telling me either. A 1:16.516.
You see what it means by it likes me better.
Yeah, the computer really not liking me there. Right, Megan, just a little bit of a quick thing to talk to you then. Yeah, it's doing fine for you. We've got 16 minutes left of the session and 16 minutes left in this programme because after that we've got to go. So I want to get your thoughts on the coronavirus, believe it or not. The fact that we came into this race season with a 22 race calendar and now
21, isn't it?
Now it's 21 because the Chinese Grand Prix scheduled for the 19th of April has
Your birthday
been cancelled.
weekend.
Yes, the FIA statement in full. We've got time to read it. It says, in view of the continued spread of the novel coronavirus and after ongoing discussions with the CAMF and Shanghai Admission of Sports, the Chinese Grand Prix promoter Just Sports Group has officially requested that the 2020 FIA Formula 1 Chinese Grand Prix be postponed, not cancelled, postponed. The FIA, together with the F1, never heard that one, have jointly decided to accept this official request from the promoter and postpone. I need my glasses here because the text gets smaller. The 2020 FIA Formula 1 Chinese Grand Prix, originally scheduled for the 19th of April. So, Megan, the question is, where can you fit it back on the calendar? They are talking about having a triple header between the Brazilian Grand Prix and Abu Dhabi.
Well, I think it's only fair to cut a bit out of it for some break.
But which one? Because the summer break is only 3 weeks long, and teams need that as the manual shutdown. And we've now got a spring break in effect of 4 weeks now that the Chinese Grand Prix has been cancelled. The only way they can fit it in. Oh, big lock up for Daniel Ricciardo coming to turn 9, by the way, as we look at the pictures.
Well, I would push back one race, so just move the field back and then put it in the summer.
But which race gets moved back and why?
All of them.
Really?
Yeah,
you've got to think about everyone booking hotels, booking the circuit, the tickets and that lot. They've already booked things off the work. Hungary.
Yeah.
You think Hungary will be the easiest one?
Yeah. Hungary will be the easiest one to move back.
Dad, they're discussing about bringing another race back. The Italian Grand Prix also used to be held at Imola, which now wants to come back as the San Marino Grand Prix. What do you think? Is 21 races enough? They can't reschedule the Chinese Grand Prix. Do we go to Imola? What do you think about this whole coronavirus situation?
I think that this is a joke for older people, especially in this area, that the coronavirus, came from lemonade, but that's not true. The coronavirus is a serious thing that seems to spread easier than flu.
Yeah. More rapidly as well, yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
And people even in quarantine have got it.
Yeah. Just today.
So it sounds like, despite what they're saying, it could be an airborne thing.
Yeah.
I think it's an airborne.
Does look to be that,
instead of a touch thing.
Yeah. There was even some speculation in the report.
And I don't think, until we know about this, you should actually contemplate going to China. I feel the fact that Vietnam...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Vietnam's just going ahead. Yeah.
150 miles from the Chinese capital.
Yeah. And Vietnam is going ahead. That's official.
And Vietnam is going ahead.
Yeah.
I think you should never put any of your personnel at risk.
Yeah. I agree. And here's the thing. RTL are not sending any broadcasting team out to... They're not sending any broadcasting team out to Vietnam, just in case. So, yeah.
Singapore, Japan are also in that area.
Yeah, they're later in the season, though, so they shouldn't create an issue. But you never know. This could go on for a long, long while.
But if you do put China back in, you'd have to put it somewhere near Singapore or Vietnam.
Yeah. So you mean Japan? Yeah.
Or Singapore, Japan, or Vietnam.
Yeah. The Formula E race in Sanya, which was due to take place in March, has been cancelled as well. That hasn't been postponed. That has been full on cancelled. What do you reckon? Or what do you make of that? Right, that's obviously the right decision because it's not. It isn't. It's not.
They've cancelled it. They haven't just said suspended.
No, they've properly cancelled it. Yeah.
The right thing to do.
The World Athletics Indoor Championship also cancelled as well.
You can't risk...
Loads of things. Yeah.
You can't risk...
Oh, look, that's perfect. They've put up a calendar for us. Right, they've put up a calendar. So where do you think we can fit in? Australia, Bahrain, Vietnam. China's postponed, so we've got a month off and spring break. Then it's Netherlands, Spain. The title...
there it is. There it is. You could do it as a three-header with Singapore.
Singapore, you could.
14th.
Yeah, Italy. Easily. Italy, China, Singapore.
Or the 17th of October for Japan.
And that creates an easy triple header. Actually, it's usually a bit of a different one, but that does create an easy triple header. So, yeah. That gives us perfect time. So they're talking about having it in Brazil, Abu Dhabi time. So that creates a difficult triple header. But I do agree with Dad. It's a lot simpler to have it just before Singapore or just after Singapore because there's a gap between Italy and Singapore of a weekend, and then we could either do a triple header with Singapore, Russia, and Japan. Singapore, Russia, then go off to. But that's a 4-week header. So yeah, Megan, we've got a calendar just in front of us. Where do you think we can fit in? Dad says we can fit it in on the 14th of September, just after the Italian Grand Prix, and create a triple header between Italy, China and Singapore. What do you think?
Yeah, that could be good.
Yeah, I think that. mic muted. I think that's probably the best solution than what Farm is suggesting of having it on the weekend on the 21st of November between Brazil and Abu Dhabi, for sure. What do you think?
I still think Congo River. I agree with that one as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad's got it. Yeah, sorry. Alexander Albon is on the screen at the moment, and he's done 209 laps at the moment. Today's big lock-up into turn 9 as Renault has a change of tyres for Daniel Ricciardo. Yeah, Dad, if you're back with us, Megan agrees with you. Just after the Italian Grand Prix, just before the Singapore Grand Prix, a triple header to welcome us back.
Yeah.
Didn't you want to ask your mother a point of view?
What? Is she there?
Yeah.
Hello.
She was just listening to you with the microphone in her hand.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear.
No, it's not your fault. She didn't want to.
Oh,
I was forcing her.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't hear her. Sorry about that.
Behind you, Mandy.
There you go. She's tripping over some equipment that's in the front row. That's in the where Dad is at race control. Sebastian Vettel has just rejoined the track. Let us know if you enjoy this type of podcast. It's not really a podcast, is it? This is just sort of part of the commentary. This is literally the last hour of the the day 3 testing. I've been on air since 8 a.m, so my brain's fried. So that's probably why I'm a bit more usual. But this is the part of the commentary. Let us know if you like it, and we'll do the same next week. And going forward, we might do whole day testing. Who knows? But just let us know if you like it as well. Dad's at race control. Don't know if we can hear. Are you there, Dad?
I said we do.
We do what?
No, we're not doing a full day. Me and Megan don't get paid enough.
I've got to do a full day, although I'll start talking to myself, which I did for the first hour on day 1.
You do that anyway.
I did talk to myself, but not that way. I have to talk to the pictures.
You're not crazy.
Sebastian Vettel's come out of the track. Now, what do you think of Ferrari's pace over this test? Because they ran 15 hours and 45 minutes. Sorry, they ran 17 hours and 30 minutes before stopping with an engine failure. And they've changed the whole engine. And that's going back to Maranello to be changed, to be checked over for next week's test. What do you think of Sebastian Vettel then, and Mercedes? Because when I was there last year, on the last day, everyone in the paddock was going around rubbing their hands, and they were all saying, "Oh, just 1,000th of a second separates McLaren and Ferrari. What a great season this is going to be!" Look what happened. Mercedes ran away with it. What do you think of Ferrari then? Dad first, and Megan.
Right, Ferrari. As I feel, Ferrari are doing the same as Mercedes. This is a dyno test.
Yeah, this is just running out the clock. Yeah.
This is just running out the clock. You won't see till next week the pace of both cars. But I will say, I don't think that Ferrari have made enough forward movements towards Mercedes. I think they thought they did, and then things like this system, the new system, just blew their mind. And I think they're a bit down, actually.
Yeah, they do look
definitely their crew don't look as happy as you would expect them to. You know, their day crew. Because remember, there is day and night crews here.
Yep.
At night, these cars get stripped down and rebuilt, and the worn parts replaced every day in testing. In fact, there was a thing earlier about Mercedes. Do you know what the Mercedes chefs are doing now?
Yes, yeah, I got you. They're doing the
full
breakfast.
English breakfasts for the night crew.
Yeah, they're doing it now, Dad.
Yeah.
If I was still in Barcelona, we had access to the paddock, and they've opened up this year. I would have been there eating. I would have been at the end of the test. I should have been on air the final 5 minutes of the day. 5 minutes to go.
You can have a full English breakfast.
If you could swap.
At the start of the day, at dinner time, and at tea time, if you wanted.
They've got the meals all mixed around for both crews, which I think is fantastic. An all-day breakfast in Mercedes sounds good to me. Right, we've got a few minutes before I have to read out today's results, and we have to go off air. So I want
the big change.
Yeah, go on.
The big change in the paddock.
Yeah.
The big change in the paddock is there's less Indian cooking at Racing Point.
Yeah, which is they used to be Force India last year, didn't they? But you're right. There's a lot more vegan options.
The media get to go anywhere they like.
Yeah.
Right, for the dinners, right, and there was virtually a queue all last year and the year before at Force India and then at Racing Point because their curries are amazing.
Yeah, we hear them a lot. And I think one person who does know a little bit too much is Will Buxton. So much so he's marrying the Racing Point media representative. So yeah, good luck to Vicky on that one. That's coming up later on the year.
I thought Will was married.
No. As far as all I know is he's engaged and getting married later on the year. I know he's got a little girl.
Well, I know he had a smile in his face last time I saw him. So
yeah, that was in the commentary box earlier on when he was laughing with Ted putting the feet up. But
because it was because Ted was doing all the action.
Yeah, in the commentary, he lost it. Will properly lost it.
Will had to put his microphone down.
Yeah, we don't have that problem. We're wearing headsets right now, although I love a microphone. Right, we are literally going to go off in a second because I've got to read out the time. So, Megan, your moment of this test so far? Anything after week one? What's been your evolution? What's stood out for you most?
Ricardo spinning.
Dad, what's been your moment of the test?
Lewis coming out of the pits. And all of a sudden he presses a button and his steering wheel goes in and out.
Yep, I think that's mine too, because the shock factor that ran around the whole track and paddock was absolutely unbelievable. Right, Hamilton goes... Sorry, Dad. Hamilton goes in...
That was like when England scored.
Yeah. Hamilton into turn one then. Here's the classifications. The rundown then of day 3 of pre-season testing. Valtteri Bottas with the fastest time, not only of the session, not only of the test, but of winter testing completely at this circuit. A 1:15.732, 65 laps he completed today. A further 70 laps by his Mercedes teammate of Lewis Hamilton when he took over in the afternoon. Esteban Ocon was third for Renault, but don't forget they're running a higher strategy and lower fuel. Moving further down, Lance Stroll is in 4th, Danny Kvyat 5th, Antonio Giovinazzi is in 6th place, Danny Ricciardo 7th, Max Verstappen 8th, he took over in the afternoon of Alexander Albon, who's in 9th, and Pierre Gasly for AlphaTauri rounds out the top 10, 2.481 seconds off of the pace. Carlos Sainz is 11th, he completed 76 laps for McLaren, Romain Grosjean 12th, Sebastian Vettel for Ferrari on his first day back in the car fully, only completing 99 laps, just short of 100, he's 13th. Lando Norris 14th, Nicholas Latifi 15th, and Kevin Magnussen only completing 3 laps in the test due to an issue. He is 16th and last, nearly 4 seconds off of the pace. Right, my thanks to Dad, my thanks to Megan, thanks to everyone who's been all the way through this test so far. We will be back next Wednesday with the video reports of all of the 3 days of the test and then maybe a further podcast after. But that's it. Testing's been concluded as well. Test 1 has been a success. We do it all over again in just a week's time. As the clock begins to tick down, it's Mercedes who seem to be on top here. But anything can happen in 2020, and it usually does. Bye for now.